Well, look, I mean, I was sort of keen to hear a bit more about, what sort of happened with the back, because I think I know some people have probably seen that, you had surgery, and we did have a bit of a chat yesterday, but I just think it'd be kind of fun just to open up some conversation and sort of see where it leads us, because you have had a pretty hectic last year.
Yeah, yeah. Last year was a lot more hectic than I sort of thought, and we were on the road for probably 3 months. So, yeah, it got quite busy there, and yeah, obviously took a toll on my body, which I've actually been pretty fortunate. I haven't really had any major injuries up until this point. So, yeah, look, it took a toll on my body, but yeah, hopefully it's for the best.
Mm. So what was it like getting, I mean, is it sort of scary going in for surgery for your back?
It was a little bit. Yeah, it sort of really happened really quickly in the end of it. We sort of went and saw a surgeon and then we were sort of booked in within a few days. So it happened pretty quick, but yeah, look, going, under sort of didn't really know what was happening. Like it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I had full confidence in the surgeon and yeah, look, I knew
Mm.
it was the best thing. So yeah.
How'd they sort of figure it out? Like, did
Well,
you
I
get
was
scared? Is
getting
it,
to get the surgery or
yeah, do you get scans at like the sort of start or like end of the season?
yeah, so we have scans like post-season and before the season, just as a general sort of checkup. But I was actually getting a little bit of back pain, and then it sort of started as referral leg pain. So we knew something was up. So that was an extra scan that we went and got, and then yeah, they found out that there was the disc bulge there.
Mm. So how much were you bowling kind of through back pain, or was it just something that sort of, happened towards the end and they picked up on scans more so?
Yeah, so I sort of just had general back soreness towards the back end of the season. So we limited how much I was bowling and my loads and everything like that. So I wasn't putting too much unnecessary stress on it. But ultimately, in the end, I ended up just being pretty much pulled from all activity, and I missed our last game, I think it was for New South Wales. So yeah, I kind of ended up missing quite a fair bit, and yeah, they restricted what I was actually doing in the end.
Mm. Yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, I remember, I think it was Nathan Keeley. I know he was with New South Wales for a little bit, but I had a chat with him maybe 2 years ago or something like that. But, one of the funny things that we kind of said was if you're a young, talented, fast bowler, your risk of, having a lower back injury is so much higher just because, well, you're young. And if you're talented, you play so much more cricket, and then you end up having exposure to so many more, I guess, higher intensity training environments. It's just quite funny. Like it's a tough thing to sort of do, be a fast bowler, given that if you're better at a younger age, yeah, it's a really interesting thing to try to manage.
Yeah,
Mm,
well, it's certainly something I never thought I would ever have to go through. Back surgery at 19 is not sort of something that
mm,
I had in my mind at all, especially considering I haven't even, done any minor injuries at up until this point. So, yeah, it's sort of, unfortunate, but yeah, ultimately, like, it's if we can kind of find a way or find a reason why it's happening. Hopefully for future fast bowlers out there, they don't have to have in their mind that they're going to have back surgery or they're going to have to do something while they're young.
mm.
What's causing it, I guess, is the main thing that we need to sort of figure out.
Yeah, well, I was having a chat with another coach from England, and he was doing an upskill with a couple of smart researchers type people, and one of the things that they were talking about was like when you go through that growth spurt, you can usually see is it coming more so from say your legs are getting longer, or is say your spine getting longer, and you can sort of use that kind of um, I guess where are you growing? Because the bones get longer before they get stronger. Um, so like if you are someone that gets really really tall through your back, then potentially you probably could be someone that might need more management. But if you just the legs are going crazy, but your spine sort of staying relatively stable, you could probably get away with it from there. And
Yeah.
like I've got an extra a lumbar vertebrae, which I found out when I'd had a few issues here and there across my bowling career, my
Right.
attempted bowling career. And I went and saw a chiropractor, and I'm not the biggest fans of chiropractors, but mainly because it sort of felt like come down and see me 3 times a week for the rest of your life. And,
Mm.
I also worked in S&C, and I kind of thought, doesn't make sense. Like, I'm what the rest of my life really. But he took scans, and he pointed that out, and I sort of sat back and thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I like the fact that it gives me an extra inch and a half of height,
Yeah.
but not so much that like it just gives me a really accentuated curve, so I can do a really nice stick my ass out and accentuated. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
sure where you grew from, but it sounds like you've sort of it's quite crazy. You've managed to go your whole career so far and not had one thing wrong. Which my first thought was then a stress fracture or something like that. And a few people who'd seen the post I did about your bowling, a few years ago, kind of like, oh, what's wrong? As if somehow I've got the inside scoop. But yeah, no, it's kind of a cool thing to sort of dig into because you're like you said, it is kind of a common thing for bowlers. Maybe not surgery, but backs are just such a shitty kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's right. Like, so many fast bowlers out there have had stress fractures or something, major to do with their back. And I sort of think, am I doing something wrong? Why haven't I had something go wrong yet? Am I not trying hard enough or something? But look, it's happened to me now, so I guess there we go. But yeah, look, like I said, I've been pretty fortunate to not have anything go wrong yet. I don't
Mm.
know what I put that down to, but yeah, look, it's happened now, I guess. So
You just skip straight to the end.
yeah,
The worst possible thing you could do to get back surgery. Skip all the little minor muscle things. Have they talked to you much about the rehab? I know you mentioned, when you might potentially be looking at coming back, but
yeah. So my rehab's sort of a lengthy process, and yeah, our physios and S and Cs are probably going to be extra cautious just because it is my lumbar
mm,
spine. It's something that, as a fast bowler, you want to protect, and hopefully this surgery helps me in the longevity. So we're going to take it slow and slow and steady, I guess. But yeah, at the moment it's 12 weeks until I can fully come back and start bowling. But yeah, even from there, it's going to be, probably another further couple of months until I'm actually back off my full run. So it's going to be a lengthy process, but I'm already making progressions. I'm out walking this week, and I think I'm getting in some hydrotherapy in the next couple of weeks. So yeah,
oh,
it's slow,
nice.
but yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, is it, does it kind of, I know I asked before, but does it get sort of frustrating going for a walk for like 10 or 15 minutes and then sort of being like, God damn it, I want to push harder, I want to go for longer, but
Yeah, it
body kind of
does.
holds you back?
I messaged my physio yesterday. I said, how long can I go for a walk for today? And she was like, oh, 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, like, so I went for my 15-minute walk, and I think it was only like a kilometer or something, and then I was just done. And it was a bit weird having to just stop because I actually enjoy walking, and I used to go for probably like
Right.
7-kilometer walks or something like that. So it's a bit weird only going for 15 minutes, but look, I'm still at the stage of recovery as well. So walking isn't
Mm.
the easiest at the moment, but yeah, look, we'll get there one day.
Yeah, I mean that's probably something that I hadn't thought about how challenging it might be to actually go for a walk again, given that you have sort of had back surgery. So that's kind of a curious insight too, to be like, given you have just had surgery on your back, like
Mm.
it's not like you can just get out there and go for a wander. But you live close to the beach,
Yeah, yeah. So I live in Newport on the Northern
even harder.
Beaches. So yeah, it's it's a good spot to go for a walk, but it's pretty windy at the moment. So it's actually been all right, only going for short walks.
You picked a good time, haven't you?
Yeah, very good.
Because is there's not really much cricket or training on at the moment, is there?
No, so the New South Wales Breakers, we go back to pre-season next week. So,
Mm,
yeah, I've had 2 weeks out of pre-season
mm.
training.
No, that's not too bad. I mean, you were sort of saying like if you can get yourself back for the probably not the start of the, I guess, state season, but looking at Big Bash, was it?
Yeah, yeah. So I'd say I'll probably be back for Big Bash, but anything probably before that is probably a little bit far off.
Hmm. I know it's sort of early, but like, has the mindset kind of gone around that big sort of change in, finishing on quite a high for the season, then having to go, oh, you're off for surgery?
Yeah, it was a little bit tough to take, but we were sort of mulling over the surgery for probably a month, whether it was the right thing to do or
Mm,
whether to just try the conservative methods for longer and see if I can push through this season. But yeah, we ended up deciding that surgery was the best thing. So yeah, it's been a change, but yeah, for the moment, I've probably still been in a fair bit of pain for the past week while I've been recovering. So I haven't really thought about it too much, but yeah, it's
mm,
definitely a big change. And for someone who likes being outdoors and likes being, doing fitness and all that sort of thing, it's been, yeah, fair big change for me.
mm. Is there anything that you sort of had to do to kind of keep the mindset from, I don't know, dwelling? Because I can imagine the hard part's probably like, because you got so much more time with yourself, like that time with self is probably a big thing that people probably don't think about too much. Because when you're distracted, you haven't really got time to, I guess, kind of dwell. And for a lot of like fast bowlers that they overanalyze. Overanalyze?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely an overthinker.
Yep. Okay. Um, and look, I was exactly the same too. I mean, I used to think about, slamming my brace front leg down when I was bowling, and my coach back then hated me because he was like, "Why can't you just focus on where you want the ball to go?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"But if I do this right, then that'll make this go right, then that'll make that go right, and then that'll, make that go right." And I had this whole checklist of things in the way of me actually completing the task. So that was a nice little insight to kind of learn from. But I sort of thought, because I do have some other overthinkers, it was like use it to your advantage and like put your head down the right rabbit holes, or have like you might say checkpoints or something that if you do end up going too far down the wrong way, you can kind of pull yourself back out and go, no, this is silly. Because if you do have too much time for yourself, you can start to think, overthink. Like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I'm exactly the same, and my coach Ash will vouch for me. I am so yeah, I'd say I'm a perfectionist, but in that overthinking with every little single
Mm,
minor detail that I could in my bowling, I definitely was the same. But yeah, I guess like in terms of my injury, I haven't really sort of overthought it too much apart from looking at my rehab when I sort of was 2 days out of hospital and looked at, the next few months that were ahead of me, and I think I got overwhelmed by all of the things that are coming my way in the next few months. But I guess I haven't really had time to overthink it at the moment, just because yeah, I've been in recovery and still been in sort of I guess pain. The pain's distracted me a fair bit, so
mm,
yeah, I haven't really overthought too much about what the next few months are going to look like, but yeah, look, I guess I haven't really been challenged this way yet, so I'm looking
mm.
forward to, challenging myself and yeah, hopefully learning a lot about myself.
Yeah, it's a great perspective. That's a great little nugget right there that I can clip up and send to the world and be like, look, this is a good attitude to kind of take as you're going through.
Glass half full attitude. I'm trying to have that
That's
anyway.
it. Yeah. Oh, look, it's not. I mean, look, I love saying there is no such thing as perfect, and I have my little mini war against the best drills because it usually goes along with the perfectionist mindset or with the kind of mindset where it's like there is a shortcut that I can take to getting the best out of myself. There's one drill that rules them all, and it's just not the way that it kind of works. It's not the fact that you could try 1,000 different drills or etc. But it's more like the mindset thinking like there's a magic pill or there's a magic solution that goes out there. It's just good, consistent training over a long period that kind of achieves results.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found it hard trying to like let go of the perfectionist sort of mindset?
Yeah, probably just because every training I want to challenge myself to be better. And I guess in that I've always got it in the back of my mind, that I want to be the absolute best and I want to look a certain way when I bowl and do certain movements that,
Mm,
are best how I imagine them to be. But yeah, ultimately, I have to go off how my body feels and how I feel doing,
mm,
each motion. So yeah, it's hard to let go of, but yeah, I guess you just sort of have to find a way to get through that and get past that sort of perfectionist way of bowling and just
mm.
go off, how you feel and how you go through your action.
Yeah, I like that, the feel. How do you go with failure? Or how do you define failure
Uh,
for yourself?
Yeah, look, I have probably struggled with that a little bit in the past, and I've sort of tried to be a bit more resilient in recent years and try and, get through it a bit better. But I think this will challenge me a lot. This injury and being through rehab, it'll challenge my resilience. But yeah, look, I guess everyone goes through failure, and I've sort of tried to learn as I've gotten older that it's so important to fail because that's how you learn, and I think that's something that my parents have instilled in me as well. It's the best way that you're going to learn, and you learn off your mistakes. So I've
Mm,
tried to improve on that in recent years, but I think it's
yeah.
going to take a while to master. But yeah, something that I'll always look to improve on.
Mm. I love how you're showing all these wonderful, like, wise life lessons, and you're 19 years old, and I did see, but I wanted to double check if you were still technically a teenager, so to speak. But yeah, 20 in like a week or something. Like these are, I mean, I've been chasing that same kind of thing forever, and I think everybody is sort of is. But I think it's so cool that you share these sorts of life lessons, and there'll be someone who will listen to this would be, I don't know, 25, 30, and be like, oh God, I just got this stuff figured out. I wish I had it figured out this early.
Oh,
But I
well,
mean,
I'm
yeah,
surrounded by some knowledgeable people, so they can probably take the credit.
but we all learn from somewhere. I mean, one of the things that it's interesting listening to like how you're approaching these kinds of things, because one of the things that I'd sort of go off and tell my guys is like, if you look at outcome through the lens of like right and wrong, it puts pressure on you because you have this pressure to be right. So it creates this perceived kind of pressure that everything you do, you go into it, or it has to be perfect, it has to be right,
Mm,
which means you've got pressure in that sort of bucket. And then if you're wrong, well, then you've got the fear of failure because, like, if you're wrong, it means you haven't done it right. And I try to tell them, be like, you want to take those glasses off and then put the glasses on of like action consequence. That was
mm,
always I guess, the philosophy that I'd sort of say, because like you could bowl a half hit a wicket,
yeah.
now action consequence. I don't have to react to that. I might bowl it an amazing bouncer, top edge over their head for six, they win a game. It's like, well, great bouncer. They got lucky. It's
Mm,
funny how these things kind of work. And I found that, that was a philosophy for them that you could catch yourself quite quickly if you're putting pressure on yourself to go, I hope I don't do this wrong. It's like, well, at the end of the day, that's probably not going to support me as well with the mindset that I want to execute or the mindset that I want to have. Um, and yeah, I like those kinds of chats too, because you can have such a. I found I was having a chat with Ash about this as well. Talking about like relationships and managing players, and I really enjoyed putting things into a philosophy. Like I love ideas, I love thinking. It's just good fun. But I sat there one day thinking I could have the best coaching methods ever. That just hit everything and take care of everything. But like, if my coach to athlete relationship, like your learning style and my teaching style, don't match up, it ain't gonna matter how
mm,
good my fucking coaching methods are. Like, it's just not gonna work.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure you've
so
had a
true.
few.
100%. It's so true. I've had some relationships that, coaches think they have the best way of teaching a certain player, but that player doesn't respond to that, and then,
Mm,
the relationship is just never going to work. So it's, when you've got a good coach when they know how to build that relationship with their player, and they know how to, deal with each player and each player's individuality.
mm. So how long were you with Ash for? Or when did you start with Ash?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought about how long we've been working together. Probably, I'd say 4 years now. It could
Okay.
be wrong, but yeah, I started with him. Yeah, quite young, and I remember being so shy with him. But he built that relationship, and now we're
Mm,
just mates. So it's really cool to have
yeah.
that relationship with a coach where you can also be friends.
Mm. I think that's probably a really big part because if you think about it, and I always thought about this when I was working in a gym, um, people know that I sort of know what I'm doing, right? Or even
Mm,
say with fast bowling, but I think they stay with you because you build that kind of relationship. They like who you are and the conversations that you have during the session, it almost ends up being like, I mean, I remember some of my clients, like it'd be almost half counseling, whether it's, I'm listening to their stories or they're listening to my stories. And so they'd walk out of there. The joke was, they'd always walk out with, a booty because, the glutes are your powerhouse. Whether you come in for anything, you're going to walk out there with, more booty, but you'd sort of come for the life lessons or
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I just think like that's where the magic is for me. Because, I feel like if you can really get to know a player, well, you can probably have, I guess, the most intentional and like constructive impact. And so when they're at the top of their mark, about to bowl, they're probably going to be in the best position to sort of do that instead of if like, you've confused them or like you've given them something that hasn't been quite as constructive for them, and now their thought processes are kind of, you know, not in the best place, you might say.
Yeah,
And
and I'd
I'm
say that's where like coming to understanding the person that you're working with and how they best respond to your coaching techniques. I guess that's where it comes into it. If my coach knows that I'm a visual learner and they can describe
mm,
something to me visually, then that's sort of implanted in my mind and that's how I'm going to remember it. And then when I get out in the field and I'm by myself, I still have that visual memory of that cue
mm.
or that particular action or whatever it may be. He's remembered that that is how I respond, and then I'm able to execute it, I guess.
What were some of the ways that you learnt best?
Uh, yeah, I guess, like I said, visual. I'm a visual
Mm.
learner, so I like seeing things. I like video analysis, and I like sort of being able to see something that I'm doing, and then being able to replicate that myself is probably best how I'm responsive to learning.
I remember Ash, I'm not sure if it was with you, but did you do drills with a mirror?
Yeah, yeah, I've definitely
You
done that
did, it was
before.
with I think that's fantastic. I just think that's kind of genius, you can sort of have someone there with I guess the mirror to give you instant feedback. And I mean, I just kind of laugh thinking if you put a mirror in front of me, I'd sit there half the time just playing with
Yeah,
my hair. I already do that. My friends
yeah,
always make jokes from those mirrors in their houses. If I walk past it, I'll look at it. I can't help it.
yeah.
But
Yeah, you kind of
I'll
have to
I'll
ignore that part of it when you're when you're trying
yeah.
to watch how
Yeah.
you're bowling.
All right. Well, I'm curious to sort of hear a bit more about what sorts of technical things you've done sort of across the years. I mean, you might not be able to remember everything, but given you are a perfectionist, maybe you can sort of remember some things. But what sorts of things in your technique, like, were successes or challenges or, along the way, curious if you can open up some conversation on, you know, you being a 15-year-old starting with Ash and now a 19-year-old who's played for Australia, like, he should be the one doing the podcast, how to build an Australian fast bowler.
Yeah, oh look, we've worked on a lot over the years, but one consistent thing is he's kept it really simple for me and really clear
Mm,
in what he wants to get out of me. So I think it was last year or the year before in COVID when we had that lockdown, we spent so many
mm,
hours on particularly getting off my back leg. And getting that transfer of weight. And that was the main thing that we worked on. And we worked on it for so long.
mm,
And it's something that stayed consistent that we've always tried to work on. And he's given so many drills and so many different ways and how we can improve that. So yeah, I'd say getting off the back leg and that transfer of weight between each foot is probably the main thing that's
mm,
been consistent. But there's always something, it always likes to throw a challenge at me each session for something that I can work on. So whether it's a front arm or whether it's, getting my bowling arm in closer, there's always something
mm,
that I'm trying to work on, I guess, each session. And I really like having technical goals as well. I think a lot of coaches say, you should just focus on the execution side of
mm.
things and, just execute a Yorker or a bouncer, whatever that side it may be. But I personally really like having technical goals as well. Even
Yeah.
during the middle of the season, even if it's, something tiny. I always have liked having a technical goal just because, yeah, I guess I am a perfectionist and I like having little technical things that I can always work on
Mm,
because, I always want to improve my action. So that sort of, yeah,
yeah.
it works for me. It doesn't work for everyone, but I always like to have something on the side technical that I can work on.
I like that. And I think that sort of ties into nicely about like what is it about fast bowling that you kind of really enjoy? Because I think if you look at it even from say just going to the gym or any kind of task or thing in life that is part of your passion, why are you so passionate about it? And you kind of need to lean into that side of things because I'm the same. I'm 31, turning 32 now. I'm still working on my technique, to hopefully try to get, the best out of myself because I'm pretty confident my best years will be in my 30s, mainly because my 20s I was injured and I was a 20-year-old male who matured at 30. So, now I've actually got the mind of it, I think, someone who could get the best out of himself. But, you know, I think that's kind of a good thing to kind of think about and discuss as well.
Yeah, I think I'll
Mm,
be the same. I always want to be working on technique and my I feel like I have to get in my mind that my action's never going to be perfect. So, if I
yeah.
can just keep working towards getting it better, then, I feel like I enjoy that and that's, always something that I want to be part of my training.
It is a pretty good action though. Like,
Yeah, I'm
seriously,
Oh, look, I'm happy with where I'm at the moment or where I was at a few months ago. But yeah,
yeah.
look, like I said, there's always going to be little things that I'm going to
Yeah.
notice, and I'm probably going to be the first to critique my actions. So
Mm.
there's always going to be little things that I'll want to improve.
Yeah, I can imagine somewhere, someone somewhere in the world, maybe listening to this and, not exactly knowing your actual technique and then finding something and being like, what she can do all this and I can't. Like this is a brilliant action. But I think that's a real credit to the work that you've put in and the stuff that, Ash has sort of taken you through because he does send me a few things here and there from time to time, some of his other bowlers as well. I think it's just epic the kind of guys that he's or the work that he's sort of been able to produce. But I suppose I did see a post on their page that he'd been there since 2006 or something like that. So
Yeah, he's
that's
been there a while now, showing his
he's an
age.
old man now, isn't he?
But yeah, no, he's awesome, and he's worked with some pretty cool people. So I'm
Mm.
very fortunate to have met him and to have been able to work with him. Yeah, very lucky.
Well, one of the things he told me to bring up was how do you go about handling the frustrations that come along and your patience was something that he said is definitely something we have to discuss.
I'm sure he wanted to bring that up. Yeah, he does. I do get frustrated often in our sessions, and he picks on me for it. But I
Mm,
try to work on it each time. But yeah, he makes fun of me saying I'm always grumpy. But yeah, look, it's something that I'll probably I'll look to work on each session. But yeah, it's definitely something that I probably do need to get better at it. But yeah, I'm
we all
sure
have our
he
thing.
yeah yeah. So oh well.
Yeah. Is it just for technique though that you get frustrated?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing that frustrates me, I guess. If I could bowl an excellent ball at the moment, and if it's not feeling great, or if something feels wrong, or it doesn't look how I want it to, that will
Mm,
often frustrate me. But yeah, look,
yeah.
I'd like to think that I can move past that now, and I can, see that if I bowl a good ball but it doesn't feel 100% right, then
Mm.
that's the way it is.
Yeah, and it's funny, like this process, like I remember kind of mapping it out into a nice little diagram about like your mental delivery like routine per ball, because you've kind of got, your intentional focus going in, then you've got the thing that you do, like the movement, the action, and then the outcome, and then like you've got your awareness of what happens afterwards. So like your focus can't be everything, but you can be somewhat aware of what happens after. And it's like how you do respond to the outcome is probably quite important. Whether it's, I mean, you might get ridiculously annoyed, and there are some bowlers that do that, but then that's okay if you can then sort of like, for the next ball,
Mm.
brush it off, take out what you need, and then almost like take that fire and put it into the next ball. Like, I love this idea of being intentional with your emotions. If you are a hothead, you get to decide when you're a hothead, and how much this is you.
Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like at the moment it's easier said than done, just brush off the last ball and get to the new one. Like, come on, it can't be that hard. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's probably something that I'll continue to work on. Yeah, I'd like to think I only really get frustrated at my sessions with Ash. I don't really bring it out onto field too much. It's just
Yeah,
probably
I was
because,
going to ask that.
yeah, well, it's
It's just
probably just,
Ash, isn't it?
yeah, it is. I
Throw him
don't
under
know
the
why,
bus. It's
but
all his fault.
yeah. Yeah, but look, I like to think that I can manage my emotions pretty well on the
Mm,
field. So I don't know why it's always at our sessions that I seem to bring out my perfectionist and my grumpy self. Maybe it's him being a little bit like that as well, that brings it out of me. But
mm,
yeah, look, it's definitely a skill that we as fast bowlers probably need to not
yeah,
perfect, but be pretty good at, I guess.
yeah. No, that's good. It's very mature response as well. Well, you sort of led into something else, which I think is really important. And how do you define for yourself what your best bowling experience is and what your worst bowling experience is?
Yeah, I guess when I'm bowling my best, I'm comfortable and I'm relaxed and I'm a little bit probably confident as well in what I'm doing and I'm feeling like,
Like that?
I'm on top of the world and my tail's up and I can run in and I feel like
Mm,
I can execute any ball that I want to bowl and I guess that's why we bowl as well as fast bowlers for that feeling. And I guess
mm,
that's what keeps us coming back, through hard times if we are at those low times when you feel like you could let this ball go and it would just be nowhere near where you want it, or, you just don't feel right in your action. I feel like
mm,
those times when you feel great and you feel like you got the wind behind you and you can just run in and, you feel great and you can execute anything you want. I feel like that's what keeps us coming back and gets us through those
mm,
times when you feel like you can't even, land the ball on the pitch.
In the worst times?
Yeah, well, that would be, when you feel like you don't have the ball doesn't feel right in your hand and it doesn't feel good through your run up. And I've definitely been through a fair few of those moments. Definitely had my fair share where I feel like I
Mm,
can't even land at the crease and I have no confidence in, what I'm about to do. So yeah, those are hard times, but I guess something that we look to get through with knowing that you can do it and backing yourself with, the work that you've done and
yeah.
your training to get through those times.
Yeah, and I remember saying that I love this, perspective of defining your best and defining your worst, and then always kind of working on that, where it's sort of like you do keep a journal, and you do keep some notes after like every session. I think it's good to kind of reflect, and you're always refining what your best experience is, because when things aren't going right, the better you can sort of define what's wrong, and the better you understand what's right or what's best, you can sort of figure out what's missing, and it gives you a nice clear path to kind of get back to where you want to be. Whereas, as an overthinker, and I'm sure this will resonate very, very well with you, when things aren't working, what do? We go and explore. We explore whether what's not working and we find something. Usually it's like a body part. And so we think about that body part, and so we try to, I guess, get that right. But then that might lead to something else happening. So then we think about that part, and then at least there's something else happening that leads to another part. It's like knocking over dominoes, just this big whole chain reaction. And I've often found that, like, as an overthinker and as someone that likes to be quite technical, you can always find something. I love this philosophy, like you'll find what you go searching for, and you can apply that to anything in life, whether it's manifesting or, you know, etc., etc. Um, so having a different perspective to kind of look at it and go, well, what are you missing from your best? It's like, well, I don't know. I'm annoyed. My mindset's not there. Well, when you're relaxed, you can sort of come back and find it. And I never had trouble with the relaxation. I more had trouble with trying to get the fire because I probably told myself that like I'm going to control my emotions, nobody else. And I'd just be a mellow kind of fast bowler. And then sometimes I'd be like, Stubbzy, what are you doing? Like, can you fire up, please? Uh, it's really quite funny. Like, to be fair, there'll be no dramas with being an angry fast bowler. There will be dramas if you're a mellow, calm, zenned out fast bowler that looks like it's just cruising through. Oh,
Yeah, no,
thought that was funny.
I definitely relate to like the different emotions and recognizing when you're in a good time or a bad time. And I feel like, you can
Mm,
only improve on it if you're able to acknowledge, when something's wrong, what sort of
mm,
can you fix, I guess, to make it sort of get back to how you were when you were at your best. And yeah, I think that's probably something that I didn't do as much when I was younger, and I didn't sort of recognize those key moments. But I guess in recent years, I've been able to, acknowledge what sort of is
Mm.
going well when I'm bowling well and what's sort of not going well. And I feel like, yeah, that's only benefited me in recent years and allowed
Mm.
me to sort of develop my own sort of way of bowling.
Yeah, and I love the term acknowledge too. Like, I mean, I talked about failures before, and it's you kind of find like I love failure, but I've really tried to create this, fun, playful perspective around failure because like I'd say to, my bowlers, like I really don't care if you take 5 for. I mean, I saw at the start of the year you took 7 for. I'd be like, good stuff, still. There's not really much more I can say, right? Not going to change anything. It's working. But when they go out and they get smacked, like they might be playing, district grade or, county twos or something like that, and they come back, mate, I had a terrible weekend. I was like, fantastic, brilliant. What did you learn? And, I like the idea of, making a joke out of it, laughing, because hopefully it takes the pressure off. But it's sort of exciting because, at some point, hopefully you've sort of faced that many failures and you've acknowledged them. You haven't tried to change them and gone, oh, I didn't bowl, it wasn't my fault today. You see some people like to blame or they talk themselves out of it being their failure. That's a different topic. But, when you can sort of take the learning and you put it into your training life, it really does progress you forwards, a lot further than, you know.
Yeah, no,
Mm,
100%. And I think also, that's such a good way to coach with young kids. I think, kids may be afraid of, failing or, making a mistake. And I know I certainly was, I did not want to make one
mm,
mistake at all when I was younger. I was so afraid of it. And I think, that approach of, accepting it and saying, it's actually okay. And it's actually really
mm,
good to make mistakes because that's how you're going to get better. If you don't make any mistakes, then you're just going to stay the same. How are you going to improve? And I think, that's a really great perspective to go about it, for kids and anyone, I guess, really who wants to improve. Yeah, it's the best way to go about it and accepting that, you're going to be better off for this mistake and, you can accept, failing and accept that
mm.
if you want to improve.
Yeah. So now, what sort of learning environments have you sort of had going from, say, playing club or then into, say, state or even like rep state into the Australian team? Because, learning in that and the communication within those environments and say some of these things that we've sort of talked about with, failure or coaching, cueing, etc.
Yeah, well, I guess there's so many differences in those environments, from club where it may be a little bit more relaxed and, people are playing cricket,
Mm,
maybe for the social aspect or, for the enjoyment. Rather, you get into state and it's a little bit more serious and, you're a bit more in tune with every single skill and every aspect of each skill. And then, to the top where
mm,
it's the Australian level where it's just ultimate professional. It's really interesting to experience all those different environments. And yeah, I guess I've been pretty fortunate at a young age to be open to those experiences. But yeah, ultimately, like it's just the way that different groups go about their cricket and go about, playing against different teams and assessing what happens in each environment. I guess at our state level, it's pretty professional, and we're really, precise with our training and I guess at an international level, sorry, it's another step up. And I guess I've been fortunate to be around some pretty professional athletes as well, so I can,
mm,
learn from them and learn from their experiences. But I think the main thing is the more cricket you play and the more training that you do, you're going to improve and you're going to be open to learning more because you're playing cricket and you're learning about each time you step on the field, what you do and how you adapt to different
mm.
situations. So yeah, ultimately it's just experience and yeah, it's those hours that you accumulate over a course of time that's going to help you experience and learn.
Mm. What have you picked up from some of the other professional, Aussie players since you've now had a chance to be a part of the squad and, get in touch with them?
Yeah, look, I guess, you learn from the way that they go about their training and, you learn about how much they value their cricket and how much they spend time on, certain little things at training,
Mm,
the extra hours that they put in. Yeah, it's just like another step up, and it's cool to experience that. And yeah, you just kind of learn about how they play their cricket and what's going on in their mind at certain moments. You have a discussion about what's happening, on the final ball when you have to score one run to win,
mm,
what's going through their mind, how they're assessing that situation. And yeah, it's just sort of, cool to hear it from the best of the best, really.
mm. So one of the things I was curious to ask as well is like now that you're a professional player, like it sort of changes your relationship a bit with cricket in that like you are being paid to play, which then comes with a whole new list of like responsibilities, you could say. Like, how has that kind of changed your approach to it, or like, you
I
know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think
Mm,
it's actually really changed too much for me. I was probably thrust into professional cricket quite young. I think, my first
mm,
contract was when I was 16. So I was just a little kid back then, and I didn't
mm,
really understand, oh, I'm getting paid to do this. Like, that's just an extra bonus. And I'm sure every other cricketer has the same belief, and I still do. I still feel like I'm just a kid and I'm just going to cricket training. Yeah, I'm getting paid to do it, but
love that.
it's not my job. I just play
Mm,
cricket. I'm just fortunate enough to get paid as well. So it's
mm,
kind of, I obviously recognize that I'm so fortunate and so lucky to be in my
mm,
position. Not many other 19-year-olds get to say that they get to get paid for their hobby. So it's yeah, I'm definitely very lucky. But look, it is my job. So probably 100% of my effort and energy goes into it, and goes into being the best that I can and representing the different teams in the states and whatever else it may be that I represent. 100% of my effort and energy is going into that. And yeah, look, I guess like I said, I'm very lucky to be in my position, but
mm,
yeah, no effort is spared. So yeah, my perspective on the game hasn't changed at all. It's still, what I love to do, and I have such a passion
mm.
for the game. So yeah, I guess I'm just lucky and fortunate to be in my position.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've always curious to hear someone talk about that side of things, and I'm curious to, in say the next 5 or 10 years, wherever you sort of end up, see how all these things are sort of changed across your journey. Even just to hear what it's like when you sort of do get through the rehab phase. Like, it's great to hear how it was at the start, but I think also given that, well, I don't want to say it like you are kind of looking at a lengthy kind of thing. I don't want to make it seem harder than it is, but given that there'll be plenty of people out there that will probably suffer something which is going to make them, it'll just be a longer process than they would like, you know, to hear someone talk through that. I think it's just always good.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's definitely something I've looked for in, the early stages of my recovery is, other people have been through injuries and other people have
Mm,
had the same surgery that I've had and they've come back from it. So that's sort of been really reassuring for myself. But yeah, look, if there is anyone out there that's going through injury or recovering from a surgery, it's gonna be a long process. But I think if they've got some assurance that there's other people out there who've done the same, then I guess
mm.
that's really good for them.
Yeah, words of wisdom from Stell. We can make this a new Instagram category for you. Actually, here's a good question. How have you found it now that you are recovering from the back injury and you probably can't move around as much, and so you probably can't do as many TikToks as usual?
Oh yeah, the TikToks, yes. Well, I don't think I have definitely have not tried. I assume my dance moves would be pretty bad at the moment, considering I can't quite move too much.
Well, what's
So
bad though?
yes, I probably won't be attempting any TikToks anytime soon. But no, it was a good hobby to have during the Big Bash with Han and Mato.
Yep,
It was something just fun and silly that we could just do. So
I
yeah,
love
look,
that.
I'm not going to say I miss doing them, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, it did look like you were having a bit of fun. And look, it did look really, really silly, but I love that because like I don't think I could do that. I think I'd just be too like yeah, like I'd be too chicken to put myself out there. I definitely don't think I can do it. Like when I go out with my girlfriend, and she's a bit younger, she's I think 23 or something like that. So still studying, we'd go out all night. And like it gets to a point where like I've just had enough there. I've got no more moves left. You know? It's quite funny.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
flying
something
over.
that Mato has instilled in Hannah particularly because I'm probably a bit more similar to Mato, but Hannah probably is more sit on the sidelines. I don't want to get up and dance and whatever. So I think that's something that Maitland has instilled in us. Just the confidence to
Right.
just go out and have fun and do whatever, and who
So
cares? And
good.
I think that's like a really cool attitude to have.
Yeah.
Off the cricket field, but also I guess on the cricket field. That
Yeah.
confidence and that sort of thing. So it's a fun hobby, I guess.
I love how you've just managed to package all these, fun, silly TikToks into like a really wise and wonderful message. Go and do this, you'll get more confident, it'll make you a better cricketer. We've just found
Yeah,
the best drills.
why not? Why not? I guess you could look at it that way.
All right. Well, look, I'd love to sort of hear what it was like when you did finally kind of make the Aussie squad, and then like what sorts of things you kind of went through. I mean, for me personally, like one, your reactions, obviously. I did watch the video when Elise and the bowling coach were saying some things, and I could see you kind of wiping away some tears. Like, obviously, it was quite an epic moment in your life.
Yeah, well, I think when I first got the call that I was in the squad, I didn't even know that the India series was happening. So that in
Right.
itself was already a big shock. And yeah, I think I was with one of my best friends at the time, and I told her, and we were just so, so excited. And yeah, it was sort of just an incredible like thrill. And I just sort of thought, wow, like I'm going to be with the Australian team. And that was just the best thing ever. And then, yeah, obviously the cat presentation from Pez was pretty special, and she said some
Mm.
amazing words, and Ben Sawyer, the bowling coach as well, he said some really nice things. So it was definitely a very special moment, and yeah, very surreal to be there. And I think the emotions sort of overcome me. I'm not sort of generally too much of an emotional person, but in a
Yep.
moment like that when you're receiving an Australian cap, it's pretty special. And yeah, I guess it just overcame me, but definitely, a very special moment.
So, what have you been like with the nerves of, say, you're now playing for Australia? Is there anything that kind of like starts to creep into your mind from that sense?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I definitely remember being very nervous before that game. And generally in nerves sort of have gotten the better of me sometimes, and I do sort of let them creep in, and then the doubt comes in. But
Mm,
yeah, I guess in recent years I've tried to sort of push away from that and use that, I guess, as fuel, like we spoke about earlier. Nerves are a
mm,
good thing, and it means you care and that sort of stuff that we've all heard before. But yeah, look, I guess you can look at them two ways, I guess. And I spoke to the psych about it and sort of said, my nerves, they're getting the better of me, and they're ruining, how I'm bowling, and they're taking advantage of me. So he's sort of like, you can look at it a way of like, nerves are bad and you can let them overrule you, or, you
mm,
can use it as energy and say, nerves don't have to be a bad thing. It's just energy build up, it's just adrenaline and excitement. And, you can look at it that way. It doesn't have to be a bad
mm,
thing. So I guess I tried to implore that sort of skill more so in recent years, and say, it's just energy. It doesn't have to be bad or good. It's just
mm.
energy that you can use in your bowling to, fire up, I guess, and get in the contest more. So that's kind of how I've tried to use it more recently, anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Nerves fuel. I
Mm,
remember I saw something, but someone had interviewed all the gold medal winners from Olympic Games or something like that. And I think a question they asked them was like, were you nervous before the race? And none of them said that. They all said, no, I was excited.
mm,
Because it's kind of like a mental definition, right? I'm nervous, I'm excited, but like the physiological responses in your body are essentially the same. So they managed to kind of like package what they're experiencing in their body into this excitement. And I think that's just quite a wonderful way to go about it. And, I like the nerves fuel. That's just a
mm.
wonderful kind of thing to look through.
100%. It sort of clicked in my brain. Oh
Mm,
yeah, like it doesn't have to be, good or bad. It's just energy build up and yeah, if you can look at it as more sort of like excitement, that's probably,
mm,
what helped me, I guess, get through, if I'm nervous and I'm feeling, not confident, I can just look at it as like, no, just like I'm excited and I'm ready to get in the contest, I guess.
mm. So what was it like bowling the first ball?
I think it was more of a relief. I think once I got the first ball out of
All
the way,
right.
I was like, "All right, no, come on, I know what I'm doing here. I've trained for this." Yeah, I
Yeah.
think once the first ball's out of the way, you can sort of relax a bit more. But yeah, I took a big breath. I think before that first ball, and yeah, then I sort of just ran in and tried to land it on the pitch.
Mm. Ah, that's great. And the first wicket?
Yeah, that was pretty cool as well. You probably know the tradition of all the girls running in and messing up your hair. So, I'd sort of, seen that always happen on TV and see everyone, get around you for your first wicket. So that was pretty cool as well.
Mm,
And I think it was probably one of the best catches I've ever seen from Molly Strano. So,
yeah.
that would probably helped as well, that she hung on to it. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool.
And the test match too. Which came first, the test or the ODI?
The ODIs. Yeah, that was another really cool moment. And yeah, Mitchell Stark actually presented my baggy green, so that was in itself another
Amazing.
really special moment. And yeah, Mitch is just awesome, and he was around
Yeah.
for that week leading into the test, and we know how good he is with the pink ball, so
Mm.
it was awesome to have him
Yeah.
around. So yeah, I guess the test match was pretty surreal, and I sort of don't really remember too much of it. I know we had a lot of rain, but
Mm.
yeah, look, it was another cool moment, and obviously a dream of mine to be a part of a test match. And yeah, look, to have two test matches, sorry, this summer for the girls in itself is pretty historic. But yeah, to
Mm.
be involved in that one was super special, and yeah, definitely, I've had a taste of test cricket now, and yeah, I just absolutely want to get back into that arena. It's yeah, super special and so unlike anything that I'd experienced before. So yeah, very, very cool.
Is it sort of different bowling with, say, a red or a pink ball? Because in the women's game, at least, do you have a whole lot of multi-day format cricket, or is it mainly just T20 ODI?
Yeah, at the moment it's just pretty much yeah, T20 ODI for us. We sort of don't really get anything longer than that. So that was my
Mm.
first sort of experience playing anything longer than a one dayer. So wasn't essentially, it's still cricket, it's still a game of cricket, it's trying to take 20 wickets. So
Yeah.
it's essentially the same, just a few different strategies. But yeah, look, I didn't really find too many differences between the different ball. People talk about the
That's
swing
good.
and all that sort of thing, but ultimately, I'm still trying to run in and do the same thing that I do in a T20 or in an
Yeah.
ODI. So yeah, the fundamentals stay the same, but yeah, obviously the strategy changes a little bit.
What sorts of pearls of wisdom did you sort of get from being in that kind of group? Like, I'm curious what sorts of things. Were you the youngest in the team?
I believe I was. Yeah, I think at the time I don't think there was anyone younger than me.
Have you ever been called Bambi?
I have been called Bambi. Yes.
I thought
I
with the long levers, that would have been something that might have popped up.
Yeah, it has. I can't remember who called me that, but I definitely have been called Bambi before. Another one is Melman from Madagascar. That's been thrown around a few times.
Right. But yeah, so I'm curious what sorts of pearls of wisdom, the girls would have given you, or even the coaches, like being in those changing rooms, what sorts of things might come up.
Look, I don't know if there's too many, specific things that they've sort of thrown at me, but I guess you sort of just remember sort of key moments and key strategies that
Mm,
you employ for a certain player, or if I think I had an 8 over spell in the test match, and sort of there was a key sort of thing that I was trying to do. I was trying to run in and hit the top of the stumps and then throw in a bouncer. So there's
mm,
little strategies that you pick up from just that sort of thing. But I guess stuff gets thrown at you all the time, but you just sort of pick up what you can from what different players do in different situations, or how you can improve on how you executed
mm.
something. like that. But yeah, I guess, you're surrounded by the best of the best, so you're just trying to soak up as much as you can.
Yeah. Does it ever get complicated with the strategy?
Oh, look, not really. Most of the time it's fairly simple. And you fast bowler's job is generally pretty straightforward.
Mm.
We sort of, yeah, kept that sort of in mind, and never sort of overcomplicated it too much for me.
No, that's nice. All right. Well, look, we have gone for an hour, but I was keen to just finish with like something cheesy or some, a real stereotypical type interview type question about, what your sorts of ambitions are as a, turning 20. I did say it was your birthday, like the 15th, I think it was, because
Yeah, it seems
I'm not stalking you, by the way, but it
fifth.
just,
Oh, it's 1st of June, so yeah, 15 days away.
yeah. Yeah, when I was double checking to make sure. But yeah, I was keen to sort of ask, being a 19-year-old fast bowler, um, your ambitions, if I let you just try to make it as cheesy as possible, what you'd like to sort of, or what you're sort of looking forward to with your cricketing career.
Yeah, well, I guess in the short term, I want to obviously get through this rehab and come out the other side of it, hopefully bigger, better, faster, stronger, everything that I want to improve on. But yeah, I guess in the long term, like I said, I had a taste of international cricket. So I guess ultimately, I want to get back to that level, and I want to be at that level permanently, representing my country. That is ultimately the best thing that I could achieve. But
Mm,
yeah, look, I just want to be the best that I can be. I want to, work hard to improve, and I guess ultimately come out of it being not only a good cricketer, but hopefully a good person and someone that people can respect, and understand that I'm not just a cricketer, but I'm also a person. So hopefully, if I can be respected on and off the field, and do what I do best, then I'm going to be pretty happy and hopefully successful.
yeah, no, I love that. I mean, just having this chat, like, have you guys had much like interview type training or like been, I guess, coached up with when you're having interviews?
We haven't really done too much media training. It's sort of more hands-on. Our media manager will try to like throw us in, to get more experience where we can.
Gotcha.
If he thinks we can do this interview, or this is something that we can use as practice, then that's sort of how I guess improve it.
Yeah, because you do talk very well, and it's quite funny. Like I reckon this chat's probably been the most you might say well spoken as opposed to like I'm just off chatting like it's just a couple of mates. So you've sort of you brought up my like podcasting interview type skills.
Oh God, I
Because when
don't
I
know if I'd
first
say that, but I'm sure if you look back on an interview when I was 16, it would have been, much different. I think I've, hopefully learnt how to talk a bit better over the years.
it's a real skill, isn't it? Like I never liked public speaking, and I probably wouldn't say I still do, but I do like talking about things that I'm interested in,
Mm.
which is probably the real trick, right?
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, I think
Find,
it is true. Like, as soon as you can talk about something that you're passionate about, you could probably talk for days. But yeah, public speaking is one that I feel like only a certain type of people enjoy. I don't think generally most
really
people would say
extroverted.
most people would say they don't enjoy public speaking, but that could just be me
Yeah,
stereotyping.
potentially. There is definitely a habit of that. All right. Well, look, before you do jump off, I mean, I will finish the chat here. I'll say, cheers, thanks for coming on. One thing because these to me, like, I just want to have a chat. I don't have an intro thing that I do at this, and there's no like, it's as far from an interview as possible. It is, I really do just want to make it just a chat. But when like a friend of mine was listening to it, and because it just cuts straight to the start of the conversation, and I don't know when the guy who edits these is going to start it from. Probably something logical, but I'm pretty sure the first or second one, we were both laughing over a joke. And my mate thought like he'd missed the first start of the conversation, so he went there and like I had to double check he hadn't done anything, but even say at the end like, oh, I just can't be stuck. But with this software as well, that little mushroom cloud thing at the top has to get to 100%,
Right.
otherwise it doesn't upload the whole sort of thing.
uh,
So I'll say appreciate you jumping on for a chat, Stella, and would love to have another chat in about 8 months when you probably are back into it. I'm curious to hear how that sort of process has gone. You can now say thanks, Stubbsy. You're an absolute genius, and etc.
Thanks, Stubby. Thanks for having me. It was great to chat.
All right.